Welcome back, viewers, and it's still Politics with KO, and tonight we're discussing Biafra, how realistic, and who better to enlighten us or tell us their point of view about Biafra than members of the indigenous people of Biafra. I mixed that up, but I'll get there. They are the brains behind you know that radio station, Radio Biafra. It's been controversial. So I've got Uche Mefor and Carol Munday in the studio. You're both welcome to Bentelevision and welcome on the show. Welcome. Okay, so
thank you very much.
Uche, why do you want to bring Biafra alive? I thought we've moved on. Why the conversation about Biafra? It's 2015.
It's just like saying, why should we be in existence? In the first place, Biafra has been in existence before ever the contraction called Nigeria was, thought of in the first place, concocted by the British. So, I mean, asking why Biafra is like asking why are we existing.
So it's important that Biafra should not go.
In fact, without Biafra, there will be no peace around the world.
Okay, Carol, it's indigenous people of Biafra. I don't mean this in any negative way, but when I look at Biafra, I'm looking at someone like, I'm looking at Uche, I'm like, okay, it's quite possible that Uche could be Biafran. How did you get into this?
I'm not a born Biafran, you can see that. But obviously, I'm a humanitarian, and there's a lot of marginalisation against the Biafran people. Buhari himself stood up and said, give the indigenous people of Palestine their rights in front of the UN recently. And yet, he has asked for the indigenous people of Biafra to be shot and killed for asking for their indigenous rights. I have worked with Radio Biafra for a number of years now, and I stand for the people. It started out, I made comments about the Biafra struggle, gave my view, and then I got a lot of contact from Nigeria, all over, Biafrans scattered, saying, please be our voice. Because they can't voice, obviously.
I know there is a right to self-determination as entrenched in the United Nations Charter, and that right to self-determination is quite important. The UN owes dear to it. Do you feel that the people of Biafra, the right to self-determination, they're being deprived from that right to self-determination within Nigeria, Uche, as it is?
Of course. The people of Biafra are the most endangered species of human beings on this planet Earth. If you go down memory lane, of course, let me just leave the amalgamation for now, but from 1966 up to 1970, there was this unfortunate and orchestrated violence and genocidal orgy of, in fact, wickedness meted against our people. The issue is that the indigenous people of Biafra with other indigenous people in this area called Nigeria, in the fraud called Nigeria, are original to the land. There is nothing like Nigeria until Lord Lugard and his girlfriend came and concocted all this. So everybody who is in this geopolitical space called Nigeria today, in quote, of course, it's a fraudulent entity, predates Nigeria. Towns, villages were there before Nigeria.
Okay. If I want to interrupt you, so those conferences that we attended, Southeast were represented. In London, there was the Clifford Constitution, the Macpherson, the Richardson Constitution. It involved people from the ethnic nationalities. Are you saying that was a fraud?
Of course, right from the outset, because Lord Lugard set out what was to be known as Nigeria today. Of course, after certain invasion, subjugation of the Biafran people, indigenous people who are living in this geopolitical space now called Nigeria. They came, of course, as missionaries, but they also came with weapons. They fought our people, they subjugated us, they forced us, they conquered a number of indigenous people living in those places. And then, by 1960, it was this contraction called Nigeria in terms of getting independence. From 1914, it was the amalgamation of Northern and Southern Protectorate. Let me just put it this way. Yeah. Nigeria is a fraud on its own.
Okay.
It has a fraudulent foundation right from the outset, because the intention was not for the benefit of the people. It was for the exploitation and perpetual subjugation of the owners of the land.
Okay, let me bring in Carol here. Carol, if we look at Biafra, and I know in the UK, and that's one of the reasons I insisted this topic we must have a conversation about this if my viewers will follow. In the UK, you've got the Scottish, talking about Scottish independence. There's been a referendum.
Scotland was
You've got
a referendum.
Northern Ireland, there are quite agitations there. Irish Republic, they fought for their independence. Are you amazed that in post-colonial countries that the issue of the independent rights of indigenous people seems like a taboo? In your experience with this campaign?
Is it a taboo? It's a taboo for Africa. It's not a taboo in the Western world. I think, you know, we've grown up, and it's time to correct the mistakes of the past. The colonialists, as Uche Mefor said, they went there 100 years ago and decided to take the land. The Niger Company sold, they were the slavers that came into Africa. They sold their rights to the British government. The British government agreed, and they sent Lugardère, who was a bloodthirsty madman, 100 years ago, chopped off the heads of anybody that stood in their way, and amalgamated the land. When Biafra decided, you know, that they didn't wish to stay in that, you know, they genocidally killed, it's supposed to be recorded 3.8 million, but it was nearer to 5 million. And now, you know, 50 years, almost 50 years down the line, why, you know, this is a conquered people. They're being treated as a conquered people. They've been marginalized. The agreement at the end of the war was that they would not suffer marginalization.
Okay.
And clearly they are.
Okay, like Uche, now let me, if I'm an Igbo person, first, can you describe what is Biafra, the geographical location of Biafra within Nigeria? Within the present states that are composed in Nigeria?
It don't talk about geographical location of Biafra within Nigeria, because in the first place, Nigeria does not exist.
Okay, so if we're talking about Biafra...
Biafra is under occupation.
Okay, so what would be
by
your...
the British.
Okay, what would be your...
By the concocted contraction.
Yeah. Okay, let us assume no assumption, there's Biafra. What is the composition of Biafra? What would be the ethnic composition of Biafra?
Put simply, Biafra remains the old eastern region.
Okay.
Some parts of this area now they call South-South, and some part of Middle Belt. Okay,
so if I want to simplify it, river states, would that be part of Biafra? Delta states, would that be part of Biafra?
States structures are the Izon people, we have Ibanke, we have Ibibio, we have Igbo, and so on and so forth. These are the original people. What you call states came with Nigeria, with the contraption, with the corruption that was Nigeria. Okay. So they tried to confuse people, they tried to subjugate the indigenous people to perpetual slavery and servitude. And this is in collaboration with their masters from Britain. And so, I mean, when you talk about Biafra within Nigeria, it is wrong fundamentally.
Okay, Uche, let me also bring Radio Biafra. One of the criticism is that it's the methods. You know, you're the deputy director of Radio Biafra. Especially listening to Daniel Kanu, I mean, you would not believe that
Nnamdi
Kanu. That, how would you describe fellow Nigerians as people in the zoo, people who, you know, you describe Yoruba people in certain language, Hausa, Fulani people inside it. Would people say these are the same things that drive people away from your cause? Who would have ordinarily supported the cause of self-determination?
Who in the first place told you that people were driven away? Without Radio Biafra, without the stance we took, you wouldn't have me here, you wouldn't have Carol here. Because Biafra issue has been lingering on and nobody was talking. There has been organizations, that have come out before, and they were doing nothing.
So
you never lost sleep over it.
So
you are here with me because of Radio Biafra.
So you mean calling people animals from the zoo was just to get attention and bring the Biafra cause to the forefront? The IRA didn't do that.
That's your suggestion.
Yeah.
But a situation where you have doctors, you have lawyers, you have engineers, you have professionals and captains of industry that are being ruled by headsmen from Fitijino Mountain. They told them everything, then they swallow it. A situation where you have oil, you live in midst of wealth, but you are buying oil from outside. A situation where the educational structure is supposed to be one of the best. The educational institution is supposed to be one of the best.
Call out the line.
You end up producing
okay, let's hear what the caller is going to say, and I want to get back to Carol quickly. Good evening, caller. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from.
Good evening, Carol. My name is Kingsley. I'm calling from London.
All right, go ahead, Kingsley.
Let me first of all thank you so much for bringing this program there.
Thank you, sir.
You took a very giant step. Yeah. You know, people are always afraid of the truth.
Yeah.
I'm from Delta, but the truth must be said.
Yeah.
If you look at what is happening in Southeastern Nigeria, there's no way in the world, even the Palestinians that are fighting for independence have not even gone half of what these people are going through in the Southeast. Yes, I'm a that I believe I'm from Biafra too. Yeah. Let me say something here before quickly, because I know that let me congratulate Uche.
Yeah.
We are behind you in everything you are doing at Biafra. But what you have to know is that watch the people that are going to call this program. 100% of people from the Southwest and South North, they try to insult you. But don't take it serious, because we know where we're going, and we are going to get to the positive part.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Kingsley, for that call. And before we talk about the methods of actualizing most of this struggle, do you think there is a need to tone down a bit and try and get people to, of course you are going to dialogue with your enemy, if I can choose that language. At the end of the day, it was Arafat that said you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. That the language, do you think the language of the campaign needs to change?
Just now you mentioned the IRA, but the IRA bombs people. I mean, how do you get attention? Suffragettes handcuff themselves, you know, to railings. There has to be a way to make the world stand.
The Scottish have not started bombing, and they're getting.
But they don't need to. They're not suppressed. You know, they're not put in the situation that Biafra's been put in. And obviously, there's been people. You know, they lost millions of lives in the genocide, and since then, people have struggled to, you know, all the parties that you could mention, BZM, Masov, all these groups, at some point were struggling for Biafra, and nothing had been done. So it may be extreme. You know, and Nnamdi Kanu, he calls himself an animal because, you know, he'll be the. It is extreme, but it needs to be said. It needs to grab the people's attention because Biafrans are peaceful people. They don't want to be bombing people or attacking people. They want to say, look at us. You know, how do we get attention? Because they deserve a referendum. If Catalonia can come out of Spain, it's going to affect Spain's economy as much as Biafra coming out of Nigeria would affect Nigeria's economy.
And in Canada, the Quebecans are...
Exactly. There's a lot of people now that wish that, you know, for their indigenous rights. Why not?
Okay.
Before you go, when you talk about getting attention, it sounds ridiculous. Because in the first place, what Biafra stands for is the truth. We say it the way it is. What Radio Biafra is propagating is the truth. That truth is freedom. That freedom is for the Biafran people and indeed for emancipation of all those who are under serious occupation, servitude, slavery, and all that. Okay. So what we are doing is to defend ourselves. We're defending ourselves against the onslaught by the Hausa Fulani supported by the British.
Okay, let's share if the next caller agrees with that. Hello, good evening, caller. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from.
Oh, hi, this is Maxwell calling from London.
All right, go ahead, Maxwell.
Actually, I'm just going to contribute to the discussion, actually, because I've been following this this Biafra case for a very long time.
Okay.
We know the story that's been happening in Nigeria. We know the story of Biafra. The Igbos fought very hard. People were killed, women and children massacred. Starvation. property space, money space. The anger is still among the youth. They are following the way they should have followed back in the days. But Nigeria, be what it is. Nigeria doesn't believe in diplomacy. Nigeria doesn't believe in diplomacy. Is there any alternative? Is there any backup plan in case there's a violence against the people of Biafra again?
Okay, I'll let Uche, let's get Uche to answer that because I want you to have a conversation with the viewers. If this thing gets out of hand and there's violence against the people of Biafra, you know, not just the campaigners, people at home, would you consider an alternative means of campaign? They did say who makes peaceful change impossible makes violence inevitable. Would you go that way?
Of course, there is violence already against our people. For quite some time now, the people of Biafra have been exploring all peaceful avenues to to get their freedom. But Nigeria being what it is, just like the color, Nigeria is an animal kingdom. That is why we call it this. They don't understand anything. The difference between a human being and an animal is the ability to reason.
Okay.
But in Nigeria, in that contraption, even the so-called educated in court reason like animals. They don't have that capacity to reason. So the indigenous people of Biafra have been under serious orchestrated attack by the Nigerian government, led by Buhari and previous governments.
Okay.
So what we're doing here is to just defend ourselves.
Okay.
We are saying, stop what you're doing. We have the right to exist.
Okay. Viewers, and we would read a text message, but you know, under that line, you see that green scroll. It says the views expressed on this program of the guest, and we campaign for free speech, that people should be able to voice their grievances. You know, if you don't make these conversations possible, you drive people on the ground. You know, you learn from cases all over the world. Let me read this text message from Ola. Ola says, good evening, Kayode. Please, can this lady, Rose, continue with this program from next month? Nala, you know, go happen. Last show is next Thursday. But Ben TV is still alive and well, serving the Nigerian community. So you should be assured that there's going to be probably a better program to replace this program. But let me bring in my guest here. Nigeria is quite a complicated place, and the Biafra campaign so far, how would you judge it? How close do you think your campaign is getting to getting the Nigerian government to listen, to either have a referendum or as it is, let the Biafra people...
It's those in diaspora that have had to, you know, to be called upon to stand up. Because I came in the struggle a few years ago, and when I came in the struggle, people in Biafra couldn't wear their colours, they couldn't wear any emblem showing Biafra, they certainly couldn't fly their flag. That is all changing. You know, Biafrans are now being able to come out and say, yes, I'm a Biafran worldwide. We have, I think it's now, I think it's 73 or 80 family groups worldwide in every country of the world. There's an establishment now where they can say, yes, I belong with the indigenous people of Biafra, and I stand for their rights. Recently we had a conference in Los Angeles where they signed with indigenous people, with the UN. This is the movements forward, so that so people with reasoning out in the Western world might actually say, you know, like me, the British person here, that, you know, have reasoning and say, look, hold on, this is not right. We need to do something, because certainly Buhari's not going to do anything. Okay.
All right, I've got a caller on the line. Good evening, caller. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from. And for our viewers calling from outside the country, don't call the mobile phone, send text messages. I know I've seen call from the US and Italy. Please just send a text message or call the studio line. Hello, good evening, viewer. Hello, good evening. Anyway, I think we've lost that caller. Now, let me bring in Uche. Uche, there's been several attempts to get Radio Biafra off the air in Nigeria. And there's been the NBC clearly said this is an illegal station, Nigerians should ignore it. How have you been able to overcome those challenges? And how are you able to actually penetrate the Nigerian airspace?
Now, let me just put it across. The Biafran people are very talented people. We have all it takes to take the world. But unfortunately, the contraption, Nigeria being what it is, they don't allow any talent to grow. That said, I want to say that any attack on any Biafran is an attack on freedom, is an attack on every Biafran. So for us, every option is on the table. We are here to defend ourselves, because if we don't do it, we will be extinct.
So this is more a war of survival.
Now, exactly. Now, Radio Biafra coming into existence is not just by dint of effort. It is ordained by God Almighty Himself. It is a spiritual project. And as you can see, no man, no woman can stop it. The NBC tried to stop Radio Biafra, but we told them right from the outset that they cannot do it. And they cannot do it.
Okay. Let me quickly...
Nigeria has no capacity to stop Radio Biafra.
Okay, we've heard it there. Nigeria does not have the capacity to stop Radio Biafra. That's coming from my guest. But I want to read a text message from Austin in London. Your guest assertion that the people of South, especially the Ijaw people, in my view, is wishful thinking. For me, Biafra is a dead venture. That's Austin. I've got a caller on the line. Hello, good evening, caller. Please tell me your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Jito, calling from London.
All right, go ahead, Jito.
Please, thank you for your program. But this Biafra affair, I think they have to bring it to a close.
Why do you think so?
Yes, because in Nigeria now, the Igbo people are still fighting for this Biafra. Then everywhere in Nigeria, doing business, nobody disturbs them. But ask him, how many other Nigerians are in the better market in Enugu?
Okay, all right.
Let him answer that question.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. I'll put that question to my guest. If you like, if you drop the phone so that other callers can call in. How many? It's true though. I was born in Lagos. I'm from Munday. There are quite a number of Igbo people trading in Lagos. They're not being harassed. They're not being subjugated, but not quite a number of non-Igbos in Southeast Nigeria. You know, I served in Enugu State. Homely place, very beautiful people, but you wouldn't say that you have enough of non-Nigerians living in Southeast Nigeria. And the caller is saying your assertion that Igbos are being oppressed is not true. How would you react?
Where does that person live in the first place? The issue is that our people have been targeted right from the outset. The events of 1966 up until 1970 is a glaring example. Our people were targeted. Genocide was meted against our people. War crime was meted against our people, and all manner of things with the collaboration of the British. And millions of people died. And after that, nothing has happened. Biafra genocide remains the only incidence of such on the African continent, and nobody is talking about it.
Okay.
How can you kill millions of people and nobody is talking about it?
Okay.
If somebody shoots somebody down on the streets of London or in the United States of America, then the whole security apparatus will be unleashed.
Okay, let me quickly read this text message before I take the next caller. Our director is not the one that called Nigeria a zoo. The present president called Nigeria a zoo in 2011, and he has called it again. Why is our director being held to it? Nigeria is finishing what is happening in that zoo. That's, I guess, from a supporter. I've got another text message from, I think this is from Italy. Biafra, count me in, but only without violence. That's another potential supporter. I've got, where do you send, were you sent by the Igbo people to fight for independence on their behalf? Kayode, well, I can't answer that. I think the Igbos are more than capable of defending themselves. Your guest assertion that the people of South, I think I've read this before. Good evening, Kayode. It's a shame that this beautiful program will come to an end. Please, can you ask your guest to define what they refer to as indigenous people? The gentleman's argument is intellectually fraudulent. he would answer that. My name is Ifeanyi Nchikwo. It's a solidarity message from South Korea to your guest. And I've got Jonathan Oberia. Kayode, please, thanks to Uche. There's a silent majority out there. I am from Delta South, and the feeling for Biafra is high. Let's quickly take this call. Good evening, caller. Hello, good evening, caller. Yeah, make your contribution. Okay, hello?
Hello, good evening. My name is Chika Uche.
Oh, go ahead, Chika.
Yeah, I'm calling. Yeah, I want to tell the whole world that our director is not the first person to call Nigeria the zoo.
Yeah.
Buhari called Nigeria zoo, and he is still calling Nigeria zoo today. He refers to them as senseless, useless, and unruly. Why would he make such comments?
Okay.
So our director shouldn't be held account of his comments.
Okay, I just read your text. I just read your text message, Chika. Thanks for that.
Nigeria has ended. It has ended. Thank you.
Even if it's inconsequential whether the director said it or not.
Yeah.
The issue remains that Nigeria is a zoo, and there is nothing anybody can do about it because the people living inside it are thinking like animals.
Okay, so so are you saying Nigerians in the southeast Nigeria who live in Nigeria, they're also part of this zoo and they're also animals?
Of course, anybody who is a pro-Nigerian is
irrespective of whether they are Igbo or non-Igbo.
Irrespective of whoever that person is.
Okay.
Because in the first place, how can somebody come and give you a name? You have indigenous names that is very much natural with your existence, with your forefathers, with your generations. Yeah. And somebody came and said, from today, you will stop answering what you are known for. You will answer in Nigeria. I
want you to, just to show our viewers that this organization, they've got quite a number of following. We've put in a short clip. If it's ready, if my producer can say to me that it's ready, then we will just let you see. Let me also warn that in this video you're going to watch, there's a group, the Zionist Movement of Biafra. They've got no relationship with Radio Biafra and the indigenous people of Biafra. But different organizations are just forming up for this Biafran cause. Just have a moment and watch this. And when we come back, we'll continue with the conversation.
Behold, land of the rising sun, we know and we cherish. I must defend
our mission to Israel. Cameraman, follow me. This is our poster that shows our support for Israel and the entire Jewish nation. And this is about what we call now mission to Israel. Mission to Israel, that Biafra is going to be sending 500 military training officers to Israel for military training, both as pilots and engineers. You can see the logo of the Republic of Biafra and also the Biafran flag and the Israeli flag here. And you also see the United States flag, the Biafran flag here, and United States again, and the Republic of Haiti is here. These are the countries that are supporting Biafra during the Civil War. And if you come at the end here, you'll also see the flag of Israel. Biafra is an ally to Israel, and the Republic of France. France supported Biafra during the Civil War between 1967 and 1970. The most important today's meeting or press conference is that the Republic of Biafra, led by the Biafra Zionist movement, is sending 500 military officers to be trained in Israel as both pilots and engineers. And I'll be explaining the reason why we are taking this move. It's about the security.
Behold, the land of the rising sun, we know.
Well, viewers, you're welcome back. We're discussing Biafra, how realistic, and I've got Uche in the, of course, I've got a phone call, but I won't take the phone call now. I just want you to quickly respond. There's a Zionist movement there saying they're sending 500 soldiers to Israel on training. Does your organization support such move? This is proclaiming violence, really.
Of course, first of all, it is about, you know, we don't have anything to do with Biafra Zionist movement in the first place. So if they're sending any number of soldiers to Israel for training, it's up to them. But again, the issue of credibility is very important here. I don't know how many soldiers they sent, if ever they sent, but these are some of the things that ridicules the quest for the restoration of Biafra. So the question should be thrown back to them. We are the indigenous people of Biafra, the original owners of the land of Biafra. We are the people of Biafra. I don't know any other organization. We are the people of Biafra, and we are indigenous to our land. And what we are fighting for is for the emancipation of the rest of Biafran people, Biafra land, and indeed all mankind who are under occupation, who are under serious servitude, and whose rights are being trampled upon.
Okay,
who are being subjected to all manner of inhuman and degrading treatment.
Okay.
And again, sorry, I need to. There was a caller that said that what I said about indigenous people is fraudulent. I don't understand. Fraudulent, intellectually fraudulent. What does that mean? Now, the question to that caller is, or the person that sent the text is, where does he come from? If he comes within that geopolitical space, that contraption called Nigeria in quote, he must have come from somewhere. Now, if he goes down memory lane to his history, to his ancestry, he will find out that his community, his town, or even his family outdates Nigeria.
Okay. Carol, we are having this conversation now. A potential Biafra republic or a potential homeland for the Biafran people, if it comes into fruition, it's going to live side by side. People, the neighbors will be Nigerians, really.
But they should all be released. I mean, you're a Yoruba man, don't you? Yeah. Don't you believe in a republic?
Well, I'm first Yoruba. I say that clearly. I'm first Yoruba before Nigerian, but I still believe strongly in Nigeria with true federalism. So they're quite different.
But then there's so many that don't. Look at Femi Fana-Koyo.
Yes, quite a number of people don't.
There's quite a lot that, you know, and a very...
Well, in terms of these debates, too, if there's a Biafra republic, it will be neighboring southwest
But
Nigeria.
they should divide all of it. They should divide it back the way it was. The treaty is expired. It was 100 years. The treaty's over. It hasn't worked. It was an experiment by the British. You know, they put them together. I think the king made a speech at the time that he put them together to stop jealousy, because there's no jealousy.
Jealousy, yeah.
In the king's speech was one of the reasons of why they did it, because the South was obviously earning much more than the Northern Protectorate at the time, and they needed to balance books. They put you all together, and now it needs to be separated apart. If you say that you believe in one Nigeria, why are you in London?
Oh, well, why are you fighting a Biafra cause if you're in London and you could expressly take on Biafra cause? Then I should be able to live in any part of the world. I thought part of the campaign of your organization is the freedom of people.
Yeah, you believe in freedom of speech, but you're here. And that's why you're able to be on politics, and you're able to have freedom of speech.
Yeah, and that's why you're able to have
but in Nigeria, you know that's not the case. You can't have freedom of speech.
Well, you need to go back and read about me. I speak freely in Nigeria.
And now you're here, but you're speaking freely.
I speak freely anywhere I choose to, any part of the world. But back to the conversation about Biafra. Let me take this call. Good evening, caller. Please tell me your name, where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Warwickshire.
Go ahead. What's your name, sir?
I'm Dr. Uche.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, it is very sad indeed. At the very initial stage, I used to be very angry when I see Biafra on television. But seeing them all the time on television is an exposure. So it makes me to know exactly what these people are up to. That very man there they call Mr. Mefor should be ashamed of himself by using the word animal. He is the animal. sitting there, the person I can see there. And Miss Munday, whatever she is, should equally be ashamed of herself, because Biafra should know why they lost the former war.
Okay.
The cause of the previous war was actually Biafra's own making. My own region was invaded without any cause by them, and that's why they lost the war. They will lose again, because I can see that they are so young. These people fermented problem for Nigeria. Yeah. Biafra is, or the so-called Igbo, to add themselves, why other Nigerians do not like them, because they say they don't like them. They are not lost people.
Okay, let me give my guest the right of reply. Yeah.
He has no right to reply. I thought it's an animal.
Okay, well, this is a show with a free speech. I would say.
Do you see why we talk about Nigeria as animal kingdom, as the zoo? When they lose arguments, they start shouting. The man talking over there, I don't know where he comes from, but it is very, very important to put this on record. That no matter what anybody does, Biafra must be restored. Nigeria will never know peace. Nigerians will never know peace until Nigeria collapses and dismembers. And from its ashes, the original owners of the land, the indigenous people, will take over their land.
Okay, I've got some text messages here. I've got Nkem here. There will be no peace in Nigeria without the freedom of Biafrans. This is Ken in London. I've got Kayode, thanks for the program. Just few points. You said that the Igbos are all over Nigeria on Patog. Who were deported from Lagos by Fashola? They were the Igbos. Why did they close all companies in the eastern region? Why don't we have a seaport in the east? And where and how do you expect our people to do business? That's Nyanya. That's a text message, but of course there were also deportations within Igbo land. I remember Imo State deported people into Abia, but that's a question for another time. I've got another text message. I'm a proud Biafran, and I'll say that anywhere. Rico from Excess says, hello, Kayode. Unfortunately, the Biafra Deputy Director is not driving his point. It's rather unfortunate that this is another attempt to plunge Nigeria back to civil unrest. The leaders of Biafra are not in Nigeria. And that brings me to the point that quite a number of IPOB members are actually in the diaspora.
Yes, who told you that you don't have IPOB members in Biafra land? The clip you now play here was from Abba.
Abba, yeah.
Abba. That was on 30th of May. And when people say that we are outside, I mean that we are not doing anything, why is Nigerian government panicking? Why are they panicking? Initially, they pretended as if they don't know that we're existing. Yeah. But Nigerian government has spent billions of naira trying to stop Radio Biafra.
Okay,
we are on the ground, we are everywhere. That is why we are saying that no matter what you do, Biafra must be restored. Okay. We are just like the Jews who scattered all over the place during their ordeal. Biafran people are the most endangered species of human beings.
Okay, let me quickly bring in my caller before I bring Carol. I'll keep ignoring. I don't mean to ignore Carol anyway. Hello, good evening, caller. Quickly, because I want Carol to contribute.
Yeah, good evening, Carol. This is Julius calling from Leeds.
From where, sir?
Leeds.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to ask the Radio Biafra is a hate campaign and is a terrorist, a media. Okay. To destabilize Nigeria. And they are greedy people. I have listened to them. There's no day I don't listen. I listen to them. I listen to their accusations. They are all fraud. They don't have any basis. Okay, I want to put a question to the lady there. We are all here.
So, Carol,
when the Scottish election, when the Scottish referendum was conducted, do we hear this kind of hate campaign and calling the president a pedophile and a terrorist? Do we hear this? We don't hear this. Was here at any time to the camera was called a terrorist or a pedophile or any kind of name because for you to get attention. These are what they are doing.
Okay, let me let Carol respond. Carol is there, and the language. That's what the caller is talking about.
Well, she said that we call him Buhari a terrorist. Buhari has was involved in the Biafra War. He was an officer in the Biafra War. There's links now. We're looking to see if Buhari's backing Boko Haram obviously, because he's made no secret for the fact that he wants to implement Sharia law throughout Nigeria. So obviously, you know, all of these things he's going to get called that. And he, you know, and there is a debate over the age of his wife when he married her, because she certainly wasn't of age, I believe, when they married. So, you know, that's not for me. I'm not the director, and he speaks his mind, and that's what he's done.
Okay, let's look at it now. The Biafra war in itself, you know, if we're looking at it, going back to that war itself and now where we are now, are you thinking in terms of compensation? Should people be compensated for lost homes? Do you think there's been justice? What happens to the declaration in Ghana that was supposed to, the IRA declaration that was supposed to give us true federalism? Don't you think going through that line and getting that first would be a way forward?
The question is, why was that declaration in the first place? Why was that Abori Accord discarded in the first place? After the war, Gowon promised the 3 R's, programs of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reintegration. And all these things are fraud. They are deceptive. None of them was implemented. Until date, what led to the civil war is still happening. Our people are still massacred. Our people are being hounded.
So for the benefit of our viewers, what led to the civil war?
We are politically disenfranchised.
Yeah, I want to know, what led to the civil war? How did the civil war start?
What led to it?
Yes.
Of course, I don't need to, you know what led to it.
No, I want your perspective.
Well,
because the civil war
was led by orchestrated violence against our people. That is number one. It was as a result of orchestrated orgy of violence and genocidal orgy of violence.
So we wouldn't be talking about the killing of the leaders, the northern leaders.
Let me not come in.
We're running out of...
Yeah, let me not come in now.
Yeah.
The issue of 1960 was a military affair. Okay. It has nothing to do with civilians.
Okay, I want us to continue this conversation. Sadly, time has gone past. Carol, I'm really sorry, but I'm happy we had this tonight. Viewers, we'll see you next Thursday. Like I did say, look, people have a right to self-determination. They have to express themselves, and we should learn from our past. Good night, and God bless you. See you next Thursday.